Summer smelled like coconut sunscreen and bad decisions. At least, that was what Ethan thought when his mother called and said, "Come home for a few weeks, baby. Your brother misses you." He had just finished his second year of college. His tiny apartment smelled like old pizza. He had no real plans, and home was only 4 hours away, so he packed a bag and drove back to the house he'd grown up in. The place was quiet when he arrived. His mother had left a note on the kitchen counter saying she was visiting Aunt Deborah and wouldn't be back until Thursday. Marcus had left one too. "Gone to get groceries. Help yourself to anything. Also, my friend Noah is staying in the guest room this week. Be nice." Ethan read that part twice.
Noah.
He knew the name from Marcus's stories. College friend. Funny, apparently. Competitive to an obnoxious degree at card games. Ethan had never met him. He dropped his duffel in his old room, glanced at the dusty soccer trophies he'd never found the nerve to throw away, and decided the drive had left him desperate for a shower. He walked down the hall, pushed open the bathroom door, and stopped dead. The shower was already running. And standing behind the absurdly clear glass door Marcus had installed 2 years ago, because apparently frosted glass was for cowards, was a man. A very tall, very broad, completely naked man with dark curls plastered to his forehead and the kind of body that looked deliberately designed. Tan skin, wide shoulders, a chest that made Ethan forget every available word in the English language. He was also singing, loudly, confidently,
Badly.
Ethan stood in the doorway for maybe 3 seconds, though it felt closer to an academic term. Then the man turned. Their eyes met through the glass. Silence. Even the singing cut off. The man blinked, then pointed at Ethan as if Ethan were the one causing the problem. "You must be Marcus's little brother." Ethan opened his mouth. Nothing happened. The man grinned, a shameless, easy grin that made the situation somehow worse. "I'm Noah," he said. "Could you hand me a towel? Rack's on your side." Ethan looked at the towel rack, looked back at Noah, grabbed the towel, walked to the shower, held it out. Noah slid the door open halfway and reached for it. That put Ethan far too close to a wet, naked stranger, and far too aware of every detail he should not be noticing. Noah wrapped the towel around his waist and stepped out like this was the most normal introduction in human history. Water dripped from his hair onto the tile. "Sorry about that," he said. "I thought everyone was out. Marcus said you weren't coming until tomorrow." "I drove fast," Ethan managed. Noah nodded solemnly. Important life skill. Then he walked past him into the hallway, towel hanging low, completely unbothered. At the guest room door he paused and glanced back. "Hot water's still going," he said. "Shame to waste it." He tilted his head. "You could join me." Ethan stared. Noah laughed, full, warm, delighted with himself. "I'm kidding," he said. "Mostly. Shower's all yours, man. Nice to meet you." He disappeared into the guest room. Ethan stood there for a long moment, staring at the steam curling into the hallway. Marcus's friend had just sung badly in their shower, introduced himself naked, and maybe not jokingly invited Ethan to join him.
Great.
Ethan went back into the bathroom, turned the water hotter than necessary, and spent the next 10 minutes having a stern internal conversation with himself. He had a rule about Marcus's friends. He'd made it when he was 17 and briefly developed feelings for one of Marcus's old friends, and it had gone badly enough to become a rule. No more brothers' friends. Simple. Manageable. Halfway through shampooing his hair, he realized he could still hear Noah through the wall, still singing the same pop song, still getting the words wrong. Ethan tipped his head back under the water and groaned. This was going to be a very long week. Marcus got home an hour later carrying for grocery bags and an energy drink and greeted Ethan with a headlock instead of a hug. Normal. Marcus was 24 and still believed mild violence was an acceptable expression of affection. "You met Noah?" he asked, dropping the bags on the counter. "We met," Ethan said carefully. "Great guy," Marcus said. "He's going through some stuff, so he needed a place to crash for a few days. Don't make it weird." "I don't make things weird." Marcus stared at him. "You once spent an entire Christmas dinner explaining why most holiday traditions were statistically likely to cause trauma." "That was one time." It was Christmas. Noah appeared in the kitchen doorway then, dressed now, thankfully, in gray sweatpants and a black t-shirt that fit him suspiciously well. He had a book in one hand and glanced at the grocery bags. "Did you get the orange juice I asked for?" "No," Marcus said. Noah looked wounded. "Marcus, I forgot." "You forget everything. I texted you on your birthday. At 11:59. It still counts." "It absolutely does not." They bickered like people who had known each other forever, and Ethan found himself watching them with a strange feeling of being a guest in his own house. Then Noah looked over at him. "You're quiet." "I'm listening," Ethan said. Marcus snorted.
He does that.
"He listens and then judges you later in private." "I do not judge." Marcus pointed at him. "You have a judgment journal." "It's a personal diary," Ethan said, offended. "And it's private." Noah lit up instantly. "You keep a diary?" "A journal," Ethan corrected. "What do you write in it?" "Things. Helpful." Noah dragged out a chair and sat, resting his chin on one hand. "Do you write about people you meet?" The question hovered between them half a second too long. "Sometimes," Ethan said. Noah smiled slowly, like he'd just pocketed a win. "Good. I hope I make the first entry." Marcus threw a dish towel at him. "Stop flirting with my brother." "I'm being friendly," Noah said. "There is a difference," Marcus replied. "You've never found it." After dinner, Marcus insisted on cards because Marcus only had about 4 hobbies and card games were one of them. Noah, unsurprisingly, kept winning. "You're counting cards," Marcus accused. "This isn't blackjack," Noah said. "You're counting something." Noah glanced at him. "How many times you've accused me of cheating?" "It's 7. Ethan laughed before he could stop himself. Noah flicked a look at him. Quick, sharp, almost startled, then returned his cards. Marcus missed it. Ethan didn't. Later, Marcus fell asleep on the couch the way he had since childhood. Suddenly, completely, like someone had unplugged him. 5 minutes later, he was snoring. The house settled into quiet. Ethan and Noah sat across from each other at the coffee table, their cards still in their hands. "He does that everywhere," Noah murmured. "Since he was a kid," Ethan said. "We once lost him at a family reunion because he fell asleep under a picnic table." Noah laughed softly, trying not to wake him. The lamp in the corner threw warm light across the room, softening everything. Noah looked different in it. Less theatrical. More real. "Marcus talks about you a lot," Noah said. "Good things or bad things?" "Mostly good." Noah tilted his head. "He says you're the smart one." "He usually says it like it's an insult." "It isn't." Ethan looked at him. Noah held his gaze a moment longer than necessary, then glanced down at his cards. "Can I ask you something personal?" "Sure." "Are you seeing anyone?" The room went very still. "No," Ethan said. Noah nodded slowly. "Me neither," he said. Then, after a beat, "Not anymore." He began shuffling the cards again, his hands fast and practiced, and didn't explain further. Ethan looked at Marcus asleep on the couch and thought, with absolute certainty, that tonight's journal entry was going to be long. The thing Ethan hadn't expected about Noah was that he was genuinely funny. Not in a practiced way. Not like someone setting up punchlines and waiting for applause. Noah was funny the way some people were tall, effortlessly, unfairly, without trying. By Tuesday morning, Ethan had nearly choked on his coffee 3 separate times. He came into the kitchen at 8 to find Noah already there, standing in front of the coffee machine with a deeply serious expression, reading the back of the coffee bag. "It says to use filtered water," Noah said. "The tap water is fine." "That," Noah said gravely, "is what people say before they die of bad coffee." "Nobody dies of bad coffee." "My soul does." Ethan made it with tap water anyway. Noah sat on the counter and watched with the expression of a man observing a preventable tragedy. When the coffee turned out completely fine, Noah took a sip and said, "Acceptable. I'll allow it." "Thank you," Ethan said. "Your approval means everything." Noah grinned. That grin was becoming a problem. They sat at the table with their mugs while morning light spilled through the window over the sink, and Noah talked about the city where he'd grown up, about loud Italian parents and a house with a big yard and the kind of home people missed even when they needed distance from it. "Do you go back often?" Ethan asked. "Not as much as I should." Noah turned his mug slowly between his hands. "Things got complicated after my last relationship ended." Ethan hesitated, then asked, "How long were you together?" 2 years. Noah looked down. His name was Callum. "We broke up about 6 months ago." He said it calmly, but his hand stopped moving on the mug. "He wasn't a bad person," Noah said. "We just stopped being right for each other." Ethan nodded. He understood that kind of ending. "I had something like that too," he said. "His name was Daniel. We dated freshman year. He was good. Just not good for me." Noah looked up quickly. "His name?"
Yeah.
A pause. Then Noah smiled, small, genuine, quieter than usual. "Good." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Good. Good that you know what you want," Noah said lightly. It shouldn't have meant anything. It did. That was the precise moment Marcus walked in wearing one sock and looking like he'd recently lost an argument with sleep. He looked from Noah to Ethan to the coffee mugs and then back again. "Did I interrupt something?" "Coffee," Noah said immediately, holding up his mug. "We were just talking," Ethan added. Marcus squinted at them, too tired to be fully suspicious, then decided caffeine mattered more and shuffled toward the machine. Under the table, Noah's foot brushed Ethan's. He didn't move it. Ethan stared into his coffee like it contained answers. This was becoming complicated. Wednesday started normally and ended with Ethan on the back porch trying to figure out how his week had turned inside out. It started just after noon when a silver compact car pulled into the driveway. A woman got out, dark hair pulled back, purposeful stride, the energy of someone who had not come a long way to be casual about it. She knocked on the front door. Marcus answered. A minute later he called, "Noah, someone's here for you." The pause that followed felt longer than it was. Noah came to the door, looked at the woman, and something unreadable crossed his face. "Sophia," he said. "You stopped answering my calls," she replied. Her voice was steady, but the strain under it was unmistakable. "I drove 3 hours." Ethan quietly set his book aside and went in through the back door. In the hallway, he found Marcus, who looked deeply unwilling to be involved. "Who is that?" Ethan mouthed. Marcus leaned closer. "Sophia. Noah's ex. Or maybe not ex. Their situation is confusing, and he doesn't really talk about it." Ethan went into the kitchen, poured himself a glass of water, and stood at the sink trying not to think about the fact that 3 days ago Noah was a name, and now Ethan felt sick over what was happening on the front porch. This was exactly why the rule existed. Brothers, friends, off limits. Simple. Half an hour later, the front door opened and shut. The car pulled away. A minute after that, Noah appeared in the kitchen. He looked tired in a way sleep couldn't fix. "You heard that?" he asked. "Not much." Noah sat heavily at the table and rubbed a hand over his face. "Sophia and I were together before Callum. Then briefly again after Callum and I ended. I think she thought it meant more than it did. Or maybe it did mean something, and I just didn't know how to face it." He laughed once, without humor. "I've made a mess of things." Ethan sat across from him. "Did you tell her that?" "I tried." Noah looked at his hands. "She deserved better than what I gave her." Silence settled. Then Noah looked up. "I haven't known what I wanted in a long time," he said quietly. "Until this week." Every word landed. "Noah," Ethan said carefully. "I know," Noah said at once. "Your brother. Your house. Bad idea. I know all of that." He lifted both hands. "I'm not asking for anything. I just needed to say it once." Ethan looked at him for a long time. Noah's face was open now, no performance, no grin, no joke to hide behind. "Say it again," Ethan said. Noah's expression shifted. "I haven't wanted someone the way I want you," he said softly, "in a very long time." The kitchen went still. Afternoon sunlight poured gold through the windows. Upstairs, Marcus's music thumped faintly through the ceiling. Ethan stood, walked around the table, and stopped in front of Noah. He reached out and touched the side of Noah's face. Noah exhaled slowly, eyes closing for half a second. Still a bad idea, Ethan murmured. Probably. Marcus is directly above us. Very aware. Ethan's thumb brushed Noah's cheek. Are you going to kiss me, or am I going to keep listing reasons not to? Noah laughed low and warm. Then Ethan leaned down and kissed him. It was soft at first. Careful. The kind of kiss that acknowledges all the reasons it shouldn't happen, and does it anyway. When Ethan pulled back, Noah was smiling against his mouth. I'm still writing about you in my journal, Ethan said. I expect at least a full chapter. Thursday morning, Ethan told himself nothing else had to happen. They had kissed.
Fine.
That was already enough. Noah would leave in a few days. Ethan would go back to school. The world would return to normal. Instead, at breakfast, Marcus casually announced that he'd be out that evening at Jamie's place until at least midnight, then added he was going to the gym for 2 hours. He said all this while eating cereal and checking his phone, utterly oblivious to the silence that followed. The front door closed behind him. The house went quiet. Ethan looked at Noah. Noah looked at his coffee, then at Ethan. This, Noah said, is an inconveniently good situation. It really is. Noah stood, picked up his mug, and pointed at Ethan with absurd composure. Guest room. 5 minutes. No pressure. Then he walked out. Ethan lasted 30 seconds. The guest room still had the faded blue curtains Ethan's mother had bought years ago and never replaced. Noah had made the bed, which felt oddly revealing. When Ethan stepped inside, Noah was standing by the window with his coffee, like he needed something to do with his hands. You actually came, Noah said. You said no pressure. I meant it. I know. Ethan shut the door behind him. And yet. Noah set the mug aside and crossed the room. He stopped close enough that Ethan could feel the heat of him. Then he kissed him. This was nothing like the first kiss. The first had been cautious, full of hesitation and possibility. This one had 2 days of tension behind it. Ethan caught Noah by the waist and pulled him closer. Noah made a soft sound into the kiss and fisted a hand in Ethan's shirt. When the backs of Noah's knees hit the bed, they both stumbled. Smooth, Noah murmured. Shut up, Ethan said, kissing him again. They fell onto the covers together, laughing once, breathless and half disbelieving. What happened after that unfolded slowly, without hurry. Not reckless. Not careless. Just two people who had spent days circling something and had finally stopped pretending they didn't feel it. Later, they lay side by side on a bed too narrow for either of them to be comfortable and neither of them willing to move. Marcus couldn't know. They agreed on that immediately, not out of shame, Ethan insisted, but because Marcus would make it unbearable. Noah understood. Then Ethan asked the question he'd been trying not to ask. What happens after you leave? Noah turned his head on the pillow and looked at him with that steady, unguarded expression Ethan was learning to trust. What do you want to happen? I asked you first. A beat. I want to see you again, Noah said simply. If you want that too. Ethan looked at him for a long moment.
Yeah, he said.
I do. This time Noah smiled without showmanship, no teasing, no performance. Just something quiet and real, meant only for him. A while later, Noah broke the silence by saying, with deep seriousness, I still can't believe Marcus didn't buy orange juice. Ethan laughed so hard he had to bury his face in the pillow. By Friday, the problem wasn't Ethan or Noah. The problem was Marcus. More specifically, Marcus's instincts. He wasn't observant in general, but he'd known Ethan his entire life and Noah for 6 years, and apparently that was enough. At breakfast, he looked back and forth between them over his toast. Why are you both so calm? We're always calm, Noah said, not looking up from his phone. No, you're not. You've been bickering for 3 days. It's like living inside a sitcom. Marcus pointed with his toast. What's happening? Nothing, Ethan said. Marcus narrowed his eyes. I'm watching you. You're being paranoid, Noah said. I'm being perceptive. Those are not the same thing, and you consistently confuse them. Marcus squinted harder. Unfortunately, he then spent most of Friday at home fixing the back porch railing, which meant he kept wandering through the house looking for tools, water, or someone to blame for strip screws. By late afternoon, he announced he was going upstairs to shower and call their mother. The second the water started running, Noah looked across the living room. Ethan looked back. They had maybe 15 minutes. Noah crossed the room and kissed him before Ethan had fully registered moving. Ethan grabbed the front of Noah's shirt and kissed him back, hard enough that all 3 days of restraint seemed to vanish at once. 15 minutes, Ethan murmured. I know, Noah said against his mouth. More than enough if we're efficient. Ethan laughed, helpless, and Noah kissed him again. They barely made it to the couch before Noah's elbows slammed into the TV remote. The television exploded to life at full volume with a screaming car dealership ad. Both of them froze. Upstairs, the shower shut off. Noah shot upright and moved across the room with impossible speed. Ethan killed the TV just as Marcus came downstairs in a towel, looking suspicious. Did I hear the TV? I sat on the remote, Ethan said. Marcus looked at him, then at Noah in the armchair, holding a book open to a page he definitely had not been reading. Marcus said nothing, just stared for a long moment, then turned and went back upstairs. Ethan dropped his head into his hands. We are terrible at this. I disagree, Noah said. We are excellent at this. We did not get caught.
He knows something.
He suspects something. That is not better. Noah set the book down and looked at him. And if he just figure it out? Ethan started to answer, then stopped. Noah tilted his head. Are you ashamed of this?
No.
Good, Noah said softly. Then maybe the question is whether you tell him on your terms instead of waiting to get caught. Ethan stared at him. You are annoyingly wise for someone who picked the wrong chair to read in for 4 straight days. The armchair is more comfortable, Noah said, and went back to his book. Saturday arrived like an inevitability. Ethan woke early, made coffee with filtered water because Noah had somehow won that battle, and sat at the kitchen table thinking. He was leaving Sunday. Noah was leaving Monday. If Ethan was honest with himself, and he tried to be, because the journal required standards, he didn't want this to become one good week and nothing more, which meant he had to tell Marcus. Marcus came downstairs, got his coffee, sat across from him, and watched Ethan with the patient expression of someone who had already solved the problem. You know, Ethan began. I've known since Wednesday, Marcus said. Ethan set down his mug.
How?
Marcus shrugged. Because I know both of you. Noah gets quieter around people he likes. Most people think he gets louder. He doesn't. He stops performing.
He pointed at Ethan.
And you get calmer when you're hiding something. Very reasonable. Very still. It means you're internally losing your mind. Ethan stared at him. I'm more perceptive than people give me credit for, Marcus said. You forgot your own PIN 3 times last month. Perception and memory are different skills. Ethan almost smiled. Are you angry? Marcus thought about it seriously. That was the thing people underestimated about him. He did think before he answered. He just also happened to fall asleep under picnic tables. No, he said finally. I'm not angry. Noah is one of my best friends. You're my brother. If something's happening between you, I trust it's real.
He pointed between them.
I just need both of you to understand that if this goes badly, I will be stuck in the middle, and I am terrible at conflict. So, for my sake, please don't make it dramatic. I'll try. That's all I ask. Marcus took a sip of coffee. Also, tell Noah I know. I'm tired of watching him pretend to read. He's been on the same page for 3 days. Right on cue, Noah appeared in the doorway holding his book. Marcus looked at it. Page 42.
Still.
Noah lowered the book slowly. How long have you known? Wednesday. Noah looked at Ethan. Ethan looked back. Then Noah sat down. For a moment, the 3 of them were quiet. Finally, Noah said, Are we going to talk about this like adults? I was hoping for something less emotionally demanding, Marcus said. Like you confirm the situation, and we all move on. Noah glanced at Ethan before speaking. The situation, he said, is that I like your brother more than I've liked anyone in a long time. And I'd like to keep seeing him if he wants that. I do, Ethan said. Marcus nodded once.
Great.
Wonderful. deeply supportive. Can we have breakfast now? Noah burst out laughing. Ethan did too. Marcus looked at both of them like they were ridiculous, but the corner of his mouth lifted. You're both idiots, he said affectionately. You buy toilet paper one roll at a time, Noah replied. That was one time. It was four, Ethan said. Marcus clutched his chest. Betrayed in my own home. Breakfast followed. Eggs, burnt toast, the orange juice Noah had triumphantly bought for himself the day before, and the whole thing felt oddly, perfectly normal. And Ethan sat in the middle of it all and felt something settle inside him. Something warm. Something solid. Later, when Marcus was outside making a phone call, Noah found Ethan on the back porch. That went well, Noah said. Shockingly well. Marcus is a good person. He is, Ethan said. Annoying, but good. Noah leaned on the railing beside him. I meant what I said in there. I know. I don't say things I don't mean. I know that too. Noah took his hand then. Simple, easy, like it had always been the plan, and Ethan let him. The yard was green. The air smelled like cut grass. The afternoons stretched wide and bright around them. What happens Monday? Ethan asked. Noah smiled slightly. I was thinking I might drive to your city instead of home. Ethan turned to him.
What?
I've been offered a job there, Noah said. I was considering it already. And now? Noah's smile deepened. Now I'm more convinced. By what? The filtered coffee. Ethan shoved him lightly. Noah laughed and squeezed his hand tighter. Ethan's last night in the house was Saturday. He lay in his old bed staring at the soccer trophies he had still never thrown away and thought about how strange it was that he had come home to an empty house and a note and somehow found something he hadn't known he was looking for. Good things rarely announce themselves. His phone buzzed. Guest room.
Come over.
Ethan looked at the message, then at the ceiling, then got up. The house was dark and quiet. Marcus was asleep, predictably and probably irretrievably. When Ethan opened the guest room door, Noah was sitting on the edge of the bed with a lamp turned low. He looked different tonight. Quieter. No grin. No performance. Last night, Noah said. For a while, Ethan replied. Noah smiled faintly. Not forever. Not forever. Ethan sat beside him, their shoulders touching. After a moment, Noah said, I want to ask you something. And I need you to answer honestly. When do I not? Never, Noah said. That's one of the things about you. He took a breath. This week happened fast. I know that. I'm aware I walked into your family's bathroom on Sunday and apparently derailed your life. You were the one in my shower. You should have knocked. It's my bathroom. These are both valid points, Noah admitted. Ethan leaned into him, just enough to make him smile. What's the question? Ethan asked. Noah turned and looked at him directly. Do you want to try this? He said. Actually try. Not just this week. Not just because we're in the same house and this happened. I mean deliberately. Intentionally. Ethan didn't look away. Yeah, he said. I do. Noah nodded once, like he had hoped for that answer, but still needed to hear it out loud. Then he kissed him. Slow, warm, certain. What followed was quieter than before. No rushing. No stolen minutes. No listening for footsteps in the hall. Just two people who had finally said the true thing and were learning what it meant to stay. Later, lying together in the narrow bed, Ethan said into the dark, You're absolutely going to destroy my brother's card game ego when you move to my city. That is my solemn promise, Noah said. I'm going to beat him so consistently he develops a complex. He already has several. Good. I'll add to them. A pause. I am also going to need a list of decent coffee places. Of course you are. You keep a journal for your opinions. You don't get to mock mine. It is not a journal for my opinions. Noah turned toward him in the dark. Then why is there a notebook on your dresser that literally says feelings? Ethan covered his face. You went in my room? I walked past your room. The title was large. There is no title. There absolutely is. Noah laughed quietly, trying not to wake Marcus, which only made Ethan laugh too. Sunday morning came in through the blue curtains. They were still tangled together on the narrow bed, neither of them properly rested, and neither of them caring. Ethan lay awake watching the light shift across the ceiling while Noah slept beside him, warm and steady. 1 week, he thought, could hold an entire beginning. You could walk through the wrong door at the wrong moment and end up exactly where you were supposed to be. He thought about terrible singing and filtered coffee and bad card skills, and a man who joked when he was nervous and got quiet when he meant something. He reached for his phone, opened his notes app because his real journal was in the other room, and he wasn't getting up, and typed. I caught my brother's friend in the shower. He asked me to join. I should have said no. I'm extremely glad I didn't. Downstairs, Marcus clattered around in the kitchen, probably making coffee and definitely burning toast. Real sounds. Ordinary sounds. The kind that meant this had become something real. Noah stirred and blinked awake. Why are you smiling? He murmured. No reason. Noah studied him with sleepy suspicion. Liar. Then he pulled Ethan closer, tucked his chin against his shoulder, and closed his eyes again. Ethan smiled wider. Downstairs, something hit the counter loudly, followed by Marcus's voice. I'm fine. Nobody asked. Ethan laughed under his breath. Later, over breakfast, he would tell Noah everything, the timeline, the city, the logistics, what came next. Marcus would complain about something. Noah would win an argument. Ethan would drink filtered coffee and think about how he had come home for a week and somehow found the beginning of something worth keeping. He was definitely going to need a new journal.